I'm making my chicken pot pie. I just cut up some chicken tenders after I took the tendon out of it. And then I added some mine are frozen peas and carrots. And I chopped up some onion, add some water and let it boil. Add some seasonings, salt, pepper, parsley, onion powder. I added a bit of garlic powder. Did I say pepper? Yeah, pepper too. Make sure you add a bit of salt. And I also put in a bit of paprika. And then you want to taste it up a little bit with these. I get these Herbucks. I get the sodium free because I don't want it to be too salty. I add 4 packets of these. These are the little packets. Just add 4 of those. Comes in with 8 packs. And you let that boil up for a little bit, and then for my thickening and taste, I add this Bisto, which is in the international aisle, in the Irish section. This is Bisto gravy granules. Just make sure you see, because there is a beef one as well. You don't want that. Sometimes they have the chicken, but this is just the plain gravy granules. And I add like maybe 1/4 of a cup, or a little bit less than 1/4 of a cup. And then that thickens your filling. So I'm going to add that now. Okay, and then let that dissolve. And of course, taste test it and make sure it's to the flavor you desire, that you like. And then if it's still not thick enough, you can add a little more. I like using this because it gives it more flavor than just using flour and chicken broth. I'm just going to add a little drop more. Then you let this cook up. You put it on low, let this simmer, cover it, and just keep stirring every once in a while. And this will be the pie filling. Turn that down a little bit. So that's covered. I'm going to start on the pastry. Now you can do this making a beef pot pie you can use all the same ingredients except for the chicken and the Herbucks. You would get the beef Herbucks rather than the chicken. I just tasted that. It's delicious. To my liking. I don't use a lot of the steak and beef, but you can do that. You can put that in there instead and make a steak pie, beef pie. Just cut up steak and add in fact, I think I have one to show you here. This is the beef Herbucks. And you could get the beef Bisto that they have there too. Or you can just use this one, because this is for anything. And as you see, it's got 25% less salt in that. And you can also add a little bit of, for the chicken one, and they do have a beef as well, you can add a little drop of this, which I think I'm going to do. I got the unsalted. I have to watch what I eat because I had heart surgery to replace a valve, so I'm just need to be careful. And I'm going to put a little tiny drop of this in there, just to add a bit more chicken flavor. Then just stir that in there. As you can see, it's starting to get thicker. Then I'll let that sit and cool, and when I make the pastry, I will put that into the pastry, into my pie shell. So I make my pastry with, I started off with biscuit and a bit of milk. Then I add flour and half a stick of butter. And, the milk I mix with the biscuit. I don't know if I said that or not. And then I add the butter, mix the butter in, and then the flour. So I will show you this, a little bit of how I make this pastry. And there's my pie pan that I greased and put flour in, so it doesn't stick. And then I'm going to add a cup of biscuit. So, you have to excuse me a minute. I had to clean up. I was pouring the biscuit in the bowl and ended up getting it all over the place. I'm pretty messy. So now I'm going to add my milk. To the biscuit. And, oh, I already put some in the cup, so I don't know why I'm going to put this back in the fridge. Okay. So, I'm going to add some milk a little at a time, just so, so I had a half a cup in here, and I've only used a quarter of a cup this time. And you kind of have to judge yourself too. I don't usually follow a total recipe. The measurements, now that's a bit dry, so I'm going to add a bit more. And it's possible I'll use the whole half a cup here. Okay. Okay, now I'm going to add some butter. Now I'm only just going to use half of this for the time being. And then I'll just add more as I go along, just to blend, because we have to add flour too. So then you mix the butter in with the biscuit and milk. And just add another little tiny drop of milk, because you have to be careful, because you don't want it to have too much milk, because then it will get too tough. You want the pastry to be soft and not sticky, but nice soft texture. So now I'm going to add the flour. Now you do that gradually, and then you have to start, once it gets to a certain, you just keep adding that. And usually it ends up being like half a cup or more, 3/4 of a cup, I would say. Then you keep blending all this, and eventually you have to use your hands, and then once you get it where it's not sticky in your hands, just nice and soft, then the pastry's ready. See, now you're going to have to, see how it's sticky now? It sticks to my fingers there. So now you can add a little bit more flour. Continue to mix. If you don't mind using your hands and getting a little bit on it, it's just use your hands, dig in. As long as they're all washed, of course. Okay, so it's getting where I may need to add a little drop more butter. So this is Bisquick, milk, flour, and butter. But you put the Bisquick and milk first, then start with the butter, and then add more as needed. I'm going to use a little drop more of this butter here. Put a drop more in there. Mix that around. There we go. It takes some time to make your own pastry to get it just the way you want it. You just have to keep kneading away. Maybe add one little stitch of, little tiny bit of milk. And you just keep going until you get a smooth texture. So this is all mixed, but it's still a bit gooey. So I'm going to add some more flour. And sink that in there. And that should do it. And then, you can go like that, like you're kind of kneading it. I learned this when I was working at a shop that made pizza, and this is what they did to the pizza dough. And I used to love doing that because it felt so nice between my fingers. It was such a nice pastry. And that's what's happening to this now. And that's how you know it's okay, because it's not sticking to your hands anymore. There you go. Now you turn it into a little ball here, and you cut it in half, but I would make one half a little bit bigger than the other, because you're going to be having some leftover pastry from the bottom part of the shell, pie shell, that you will add to the rest of the pastry to roll out the top half. So I like everything to be put away and cleaned. So now I have room. I wipe the counter down with a damp cloth, damp paper towel, so that I can lay down the foil and it'll stay stuck down there because it's wet. Okay, I'll put another piece at the top. Oh, I'll have to open a new one. I just buy this Great Value because it's, in this day and age, it's a lot cheaper than getting it the name brand. They always have some glue stuck on this stuff. I'm going to take that first little bit off there because it's got some glue on it. Okay, now we got that sorted out. And I'm going to put a bit of flour on that. Make sure you can see this. I'm going to sprinkle some flour right through the middle. And I leave that over there. Kind of blend it around. Then I'm going to take my pastry. This is the first half. Make sure it's got flour on both sides. And I'm going to roll it out big enough to fit into my pie pan. Let's turn it over. Put some more flour there. So in the meantime, my filling is sitting there cooling, so it's going to get a little thicker, which will be just fine then to put the filling into the pie shell. So now I want to get a little bit more flour going here. You have to be careful when you make the pastry that you just put enough flour just so it doesn't stick to your hands, because you're going to be using quite a bit of flour when you're rolling it out. So there you go. Let's see. This looks like it'll definitely fit into this pan now. Oops. Okay, there we go, but I kind of broke it here, so I'm going to fix that. There we go. Silly me. Okay, so got that all in there. There we go. And any little extra that's around the edges, I'm going to take some of that off so I can use it for the lid with the other piece of pastry. And the easiest way to do that is to hold it, take a regular knife, butter knife, and just go around, bring the knife down like so. And then when you've done that, it's important to push these back a little bit so that they don't come forward. And you roll out your other pastry before you put the filling in. So that's all set. Put that over there. Now I'm going to add the rest of this pastry to the other half to make the lid. And I'm going to roll this out now, and I'm going to put more flour in. It's a messy project, but it's worth it in the end. So there's the rolled out lid. Now I'm going to take let's move this away. So I'm going to put the filling into the pie. I'm going to set the oven on 350, and you just bake it until you see it's like a golden brown. Okay. Now I'm going to take all this filling. Oh, it looks so delicious. I did taste it. It was so good. As I scrape my pans. Oh, it looks delicious. So good. Now you can add as much chicken as you like, what you prefer. I put peas and carrots with it. You can add whatever you like to it. Like I said, you can do this with beef. Okay, now I'm going to wet the sides, because if you don't, then the pie shell won't stick. So what I'm going to do, I just rub my hands and then I take a little bit of this gravy and put that around. There you go. Okay, I'm going to wash my hands and then use that other pastry. So now, to get this on, be very careful here, because you don't want it to sink into the stew. Get it all wet. Okay, now I'm going to get a fork and go around the edges. And I will cut into this and show it to you when it's done. And then I poke a couple of little fork holes in the top for air. Now, your filling shouldn't be that hot, so you can still hold the bottom and go around. Just be careful you don't drop the pie in the process. There we go. Gonna be a bit of pastry wasted here. But if you're making 2 pies, obviously you double the recipe that I showed you. So that's that. Now it's gonna go in the oven. I don't care. If the oven's preheated, it still comes out good. I do have it on, but I did forget to turn it on sooner, but it's going in the oven now. So there you go. I'm going to clean up this mess and then I'll show you the pie when it's cooked. Baked. So there's the finished product. And remember to make something to your liking. So there you go. I give you the basics of making pastry and a meat filling. And remember, you can use whatever you want in there, beef, chicken, or whatever. Enjoy.